let's start with warmth. I mean, warmth is one of those things that everybody's after in their recordings. It's a word that gets used a lot. We want to warm something up. It's nice and warm. Warm is always a positive thing in my mind. When I think of warmth, I think of both, and this is probably true for a lot of these things we're going to talk about, things that are there and things that are not there in the sound contribute to warmth. So things that are there, some amount of density and evenness and low frequencies and mid-range, and a lack of things that are harsh or hurt my ear. That's my rough brief definition of warmth. So things like, as we've talked about many times, harmonic saturation, which can add frequencies, add density to the sound without just raising high frequency range. That tends to make things warmer. But I think of as like even, low frequencies, thickness in terms of the number of frequencies, and not harsh sound. What do you think of when you think of warmth?
Not harsh sound. I like that. I like that all the time. Let me come at it, because I think that's a great picture of, that's a great picture. That's what it is visually. But let's think nervous system response, and someone says warm, like, I'm wrapped in a blanket. I'm a little cozier here. I'm a little more comfortable with this sound. There's nothing, there's minimal things that are unappealing here to that would add any sort of irritation.
You can relax in the sound. I like that, like a warm blanket.
Yeah. So let's just use the word as we would, like you said, we're appropriating it from other things. So when I think of warmth, if someone says, make this warmer, I want it to be easier to listen to. I want it to not assault my ears. So what you're talking about, like that upper mid range, like carving that out, making sure there's enough density in the low mids and that cello frequency range. The lower end of the orchestra, or the lower left-hand position of the piano, for example.
And those are the hundreds of cycles.
Yes.
When you get into thousands of cycles, you're getting, like, the opposite of warmth is the sound that comes out of a telephone.
Yeah.
Like that.
But when I think about warmth, exactly. But when I think about warmth, I think that it's almost a necessity for most music to stand the test of time. You have to balance the right amount of warmth with, as we'll get into later, terminology, and brightness, high end, right? So I actually think that the fundamental use of the term warmth should be in every conversation of records, right? So I'm always going to push for the warm, but as warm as I can possibly get, just so we have, a foundation to stand on that is listenable for long durations of time, especially when you're making an album. Less so when you're making a single. I still think it's arguably important.
So warmth, I like that, the word foundation. Warmth is very often the foundation of sounds. There's certain sounds like cymbals that are not going to have a lot of warmth as far as I can think of them, because they're just high frequencies. So warmth is not something that exists in high frequencies, but it has a relationship to it.
Yes, I love that you just said that, though. You could make cymbals sound and feel warm, right? Like, you can make the cymbals have less abrasive frequencies. You can pitch the cymbals down an octave, even when recording, right? I've experimented with recording drums and pitching the overheads and the hi-hat mic down an octave. That makes... Oh my God, Ryan Lewis.
Ryan Lewis going crazy in the comments.
What waves plugins are the warmest ones? None of them. The uninstall icon.
Whichever ones have the orange user interface.
Yeah. I also, this is going to get pushed back. I don't think the Vintage Warmer by PSP is a warming plugin. So that'll get some pushback later.
I used that years ago, but I haven't used it
just because it says warm doesn't mean it's warm.
Well, one thing you said about cymbals real quick, also a way to make something like cymbals feel warm in a track is a slower attack. So when cymbals go like orchestra cymbals go, so there's an element of warmth that's about attack. Yeah. How much transient or lack of transient.
I was going to say that.
Yeah.
I was going to say that earlier, where when we talk about warm, there might be less pokey things. There might be less transients. There might be smoothed out. There's a lot of ways to do this, right? And we talk about them in previous episodes. So when we talk about warmth, we're not talking only sonically. I think of it as like I said, like a blanket, a cozy feeling. I think of it as something that is listenable for long periods of time.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. We don't have sponsors. We don't run ads. We don't have a Patreon. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks.